And now let's go live to Bobby V's in Windsor Locks, where we find Rob Dibble.
We're live from Bobby V's, thanks to Bud Light.
We got a lot of Bud Light gear.
We do.
We're
We're waiting on you people to come down here and snatch it up.
We got football tickets. We got Hartford Athletic tickets. We've got 2 Bud Light chairs. We've got, what is that, Patriots or is that Giants?
We got both. We got Patriots and Giants Bud Light ski hats because, 97 degrees out. It's going to be 37 before you know it.
It's football season is what it is. I understand that it's 94 today, but come November, it will be football season. You will need that hat.
Come December, it's going to be 4 degrees, and you're going to wish you had one of these Bud Light giant hats.
Not only the swag, we got a lot of Bud Light itself to get to the masses. We got Bud Light towers here at Bobby V's. We've got pitchers on sale, plus Big Wave, Big Kona. Kona Big Wave. God, why do I... Kona Big Wave. It's one of my favorite Bud Light products. Golden Ale as well that's here. And Neutral. We got turned on by our Bud Light guy Redmond on Neutral last year.
Redmond.
And it's still rolling. So we got a lot of stuff to do here at Bobby V's.
And don't forget, Monday through Friday, including football night on Thursday, $2 off all apps, $2 off wine, shots, and cocktails, $1 off all beer, $18 sangria pitchers, and, of course, like Ben said, the $30 beer towers. If you remember, I'm dating myself, probably in the 40s and 50s, you go to a gas station.
I know.
And the gas would come up to the top, and it'd be this huge tower. It's exactly what these Bud Light beer towers look like, minus the lower half of the whole gas tank.
There you go.
But it's impressive
and when
it comes to your table.
Celebrating the start of the NFL season as we keep on watching highlights of the Kansas City
But, dude, I'm hungry
Chiefs.
for some football. I mean, listen, I love football. College football is amazing. NFL, because you're playing Monday, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Sunday. It's just nothing but football all the time. And right now, let's be serious. Baseball's getting a little boring till the playoffs.
Let's go.
Last 30 games.
I could have fixed it for you if you all would have listened to me.
Watching the Rangers give up 39 runs to the Astros like it was a Double-A team versus a Major League team.
Everybody's running out of pitchers.
They look gassed. They look like they can't get to the finish line.
And you always say this, too, to Major League Baseball. I say cut the season. Dibbs says don't compete with the NFL. So,
listen, I'm all for cutting for the season. Listen. You can even start with 10 games. Let's go back to 152. It used to be 154, but let's just take out 10 games. You have so many teams in the postseason now, 12.
Yeah.
You can get away with it.
I agree.
You can get away with it. It's like the NBA. The NBA doesn't need 82 games. They should be at like 70. These guys don't want to play 82 anymore. So play 70, and you're still playing your 3 months of postseason NBA basketball. And that's the best basketball you're going to see, not the regular season. Baseball, you don't have the arms for it anymore. You don't have the pitchers for it anymore. Even the bullpen guys are gassed.
Yeah.
They can't do what they used to do. So it's not the pitch clock changes, the base changes, the throw over to first changes. You got all these different changes that are going on except the scheduling. Why don't you change the way you do the season, cut it a month short, and save some of these guys from these injuries, because now they're starting to pile up. Now you're starting to see a lot of guys going down. You just saw another guy go down for Tampa Bay. He needs season-ending surgery. So you got guys all over the place that are now going down with all of these. You had Soroka just went down with the Braves. He's done for the season. That's huge. You're trying to get back to the World Series, and one of your main starters goes down. That's very tough to swallow. We just saw Eovaldi come back. Eovaldi's gassed. He didn't even go 2 innings, and he's been out since July. So just think about that when you're thinking about the postseason in baseball. So I'm very happy the NFL is starting up right now.
Well, I do think it's a conversation now in some of these leagues. I think the NBA, and I understand that the players push this, like the players not wanting to play 82 games and getting rewarded for, playing 60 is like, wow, that guy played a lot of games this year. And now they've made concessions where they've mixed in this inter-season tournament into their 82-game schedule.
Because we have to spice things up. If you have to spice things up because the season's too long, what does that tell you?
But you're fighting the owners, and you always say this. And whenever I say 100 games, you always go, and you're right.
100? Holy cow. No way they'd go for that.
The owners are not going to go for it.
2 months that you'd cut out of the season, way too much revenue for these money grubbers.
And
that
Adam
just
Silver
love
knew
counting
that
their
as
money.
well, and that's why he's doing the in-season tournament. So
Yep.
I think it's the conversation is at least starting, but, man, they're still making money on it, so I doubt they'll change if that ever changes. I'm afraid for the NFL, man. I think the extra week is stupid. I don't think that that's necessary at all.
Okay, let's start there. Even though we love Thursday night football, how many good Thursday night games do we see throughout 18 weeks?
This one, for sure.
This one and a few.
We'll see what happens.
But we see a lot of guys that are too tired and don't have 100% energy to go out there and give you a great effort for 60 minutes.
But even then, I
think it's risky. I think it's a risky proposition when you're not out there on full tilt all the time.
Well, when you're playing 16 weeks and you only have 1 week, or 17 weeks now, and you only have 1 week of bye, that's a harder scheduling conflict to maneuver where a team will get a bye after that Thursday, get a bye before that Thursday. Now you want to throw London in there.
Oh, yeah, let's throw some extra travel in there, some more hours on a plane. Because if you're 350 pounds, you might get blood clots and might get other ailments and stuff. I'll never forget Dave Nilsson, catcher for the Brewers, came over from Australia. He had been bitten by a mosquito. By the time he got to Los Angeles, which I think is about 8 to 10 hours from Australia, he was so swollen he spent the next month in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Almost died because of the plane flight. So, yeah, let's throw some big humans on planes more in the regular season for our enjoyment.
I hope it doesn't happen with college football with the conference realignment, because a lot of people are trying to figure out an 18-game conference schedule and how you play at least 9 of them to make your side, if we're going to split this up into 2 divisions on each conference, if they're going to add games. But then you're having a 12-team playoff, which is adding games and adding weeks in December and January.
More tough hits on young kids and young bodies.
Not only that, you just cut the sense of urgency down for all the actual teams. And, when you're playing 17 weeks, you can finish 10-7. The sense of urgency in these first 3 weeks aren't as high as what it was 2 years ago with 16
Okay, but you
schedule.
remember the argument when we had the BCS back in the day.
Yeah.
And the argument was, well, these kids have to go to school. These kids can't play all of December. So you finished the season, you took about 4 weeks off, and then you started the postseason, right? Now you want to have a longer postseason. Are you going to play more weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. So, for me, I think Harbaugh is onto something here, not just besides NIL, possibly paying these young men. Because, listen, what if it shortens your career with some career-threatening injury in college?
It always does.
Because they're throwing you more weeks of football.
Oh, for sure. That happens constantly everywhere.
It should be hazard pay. I agree with it.
We'll see what happens with the conference realignment, because the people who are going to make the decisions are not the NCAA, the ones that are supposed to protect the kids. The decision makers are going to be the commissioner of the SEC, the commissioner of the Big Ten, the commissioner of the Big 12, and whoever else wants to be invited to that party. But, yeah, with all of these new conferences now, I fear that they're going to add weeks to a regular season. I could care less. You could make it a 10-week regular season. I'm used to that.
Do you like the postseason better?
Hell yeah. Ask our FCS friends, our D2 friends, our D3 friends. Like, dude, play a 12. Some of them do play 12 weeks, but a lot of them only play 10. And then they have a 4-week playoff or a 5-week playoff to go through a 32-team set. It's a lot of fun. It's plain and simple. It's quick and slick.
How about the Ivy League? No more tackling in practice.
Yeah, true.
I mean, some of these leagues have said, listen, we are here to protect the student athletes.
I honestly am not concerned about the student athletes' protection as much as I am you killing the product. I think you water it
down by more weeks.
Weeks, more games does not make it as special as it used to be. And I throw the NFL in that category.
Let me ask you this too. I mean, how awful were some of the bowl games in recent years? Because there's 4 weeks off.
There's 20 of them that are going to be horrible.
Yeah,
20
out of 44 of them.
There was some pretty interesting things that came out of that TCU-Colorado game that I don't know if everybody knows about. First of all, I would love for everyone to watch the TCU linebacker who gave a press conference not too long ago calling their defense the laughing stock of the NCAA.
Who, Colorado or TCU?
TCU. One of their head senior linebackers is saying, man, we lost by 60 points in the national championship. If that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is. And for them to put the performance of giving up 45 points in the first week, unacceptable, the words that he used. I just love the press conference. Normally you don't have kids in college give those kind of statements, and I love every minute. I think it galvanizes the team a lot more than a coach saying it. I remember when Tim Tebow has the quote that is still in the locker room for Florida about they'll never lose another game like they lost. I forget who they lose, maybe Michigan or something like that. But that quote galvanized that team and brought them back to what they were. Hopefully it does the same for TCU. The other thing, the mind-blowing thing, the 2023 college football NIL thing that came out of the Colorado-TCU game in the last couple of days, Shedeur Sanders has made $2.5 million in NIL since Saturday.
What?
Since Saturday, he has signed upwards of $2.5 million in NIL on top of what he already was
I can't
getting.
believe you didn't hear this story locally. Paige Beckers just signed a multi-year deal with Nike.
I saw that. So, because I had this conversation last night that I got the information about Shedeur, and then I said, you know, that's great and all, but I know this young lady who hasn't played a game in a year and a half and is the highest paid person on UConn's campus. And more power to her. More power to Shedeur. It's just funny to me how
I'm happy for Shedeur, man.
this money just comes out of nowhere all of a sudden.
HBCU to Colorado to that.
But
that's
then
awesome.
but think about the conversations we had nearly 4 years ago.
I know.
We can't afford to do this and pay these kids.
No, you argued
They're
adamantly with me.
They're getting a scholarship and all these clothes and traveling the country.
The billions the NCAA pulls in just from the men's basketball tournament. Let's just start there. Forget what college football is bringing in annually. Just to kick back a little bit to the kids, I think is the way it should be.
A little bit.
A little bit. Kickbacks a little bit to these guys.
This is getting close to $1 trillion industry if you put it all together. If you put college football with college basketball, men's, women's, with everything included under the sun. I was watching the Golf Channel last night and watching Howard University Golf have a reality show. Like, what? But, you know, I sat down and watched the whole thing.
Right.
You know, these kids are the product to me. And you can relate. Like, you were the product when you were having this conversation with Major League Baseball back in the early 90s. I'm happy to see it all. I'm just so shocked and bugged out when I hear these kind of numbers in this short amount of time when I used to be preached to from so many different forms and facets of college athletics that we can never do this, we can't afford it, and the kids are getting just everything they've ever asked for. Yeah, right. Look at you now. Now those same people are begging corporations to hook them up so they can do what they were preaching against.
Well, and listen, the message coming out of Colorado with Deion and his players is a lot about loyalty as well. And, you know, Travis Hunter sticking with Deion, going from Jackson State to Colorado. This guy was a 5-star guy coming out of Georgia. He could have gone anywhere. He wanted to play for Deion. He wanted to be a two-way guy. Had he gone to somewhere else like Michigan, Notre Dame,
They wouldn't let him.
Georgia, they wouldn't have let him. So he basically said, "Listen, I want to hitch my ride to this guy." And listen, Deion. The one thing I know about him, he's a no BS guy.
I was just going to bring this up.
He's not you think you know him, you don't know him. The way I know him is such a down-to-earth guy that he wants the simplest things in life. And when you turn a TV camera on, that's a whole different guy. That's a whole different guy. But when he's around his players, they probably see the genuine Deion that cares about each and every one of them, and he wants the most for each one of those guys. Because, listen, he's come from nothing to make something of himself.
Right.
So he knows, listen, if you've got somebody in your corner and somebody that's explaining, I was just listening to him about NIL, and he made a lot of sense.
On
he's
the
like,
Pat
listen.
McAfee show.
Yeah, he was talking about that, yes, there's like 4 players on each team. He doesn't like it because it's not equitable. And he would probably say the same thing about his son right now. He doesn't probably want his kid getting $2.5 million, and now the other 52 kids are scrambling to try to get a few bucks. I mean, that's going to create dissension. He doesn't want that either. He wants a more equitable way of distributing these funds. And that's what I think, when we were talking to Tim Brando, he's talking about. There's really nothing in place right now. It's kind of the Wild West in NIL.
Yeah.
There's got to be a compromise down the road. Now, I'm not saying today or next week or next year, but down the road where a commission looks at this and it's like, okay, how can we get more equity? Especially, let's just start with the Division I platform, men and women's sports, and how can we filter more money down the line on these kids?
I don't know. I'm not concerned about that. I look at it more as a capitalistic thing where Shedeur Sanders has a totally different story to tell than Caleb Williams. And both of those stories, to me, are far more valuable than player X on the punt team.
What I'm saying about Deion is he doesn't want the kids taken advantage of.
Right.
He's afraid that they will take advantage of these kids.
Oh, yeah.
And these corporations, he's like, these CEOs don't care. He's like, these people don't care about these kids' futures. Deion is there to explain to these kids about their futures. That's where I see Deion coming in.
Oh, for sure.
And helping these kids navigate because these kids are not business people. Let's just take it a step back to when I was playing. Guys making millions and millions of dollars as teenagers. They don't know how to invest. They've got agents that are greedy, that are taking them for everything, especially the Latino players. There's so many horror stories of these guys that got these Cuban kids here for millions and millions of dollars. These kids end up with nothing. That's what Deion's talking about with the NIL. He's not saying that, one kid shouldn't make $10 million or another kid. He's just saying he doesn't want kids being used for the betterment of the corporations.
Yeah, I think he uses the term financial literacy. And, again, like this dude at Florida State got taken advantage of. This dude.
Who's the kid that was offered $13 million? Got nothing. The kid ended up going to like Oklahoma State or something like that.
He got paid.
Did he get paid?
Yeah.
I don't think he got as much.
But still, like that was his decision. Again, like this is all capitalism.
Well, no, because the deal fell through because it was a lot of smoke. It wasn't substance. That's what I think Deion's getting at. We need more substance here. We need these kids not to be taken advantage of, and like you said, making these kids aware of their earning potential.
But Deion made zero at Florida State.
Yeah.
Deion was a product coming out of college.
He made himself a product with the neon Deion in the prime time.
But he had to. And before that, though, at Florida State, he was making the Seminoles a lot of money that they, never
so
had
was Johnny
before.
Manziel, so was Herschel Walker, all these guys, and they got ripped off.
Yeah. Johnny Manziel, Todd Gurley, taking it. You can trust. Give me the guy who was ripped off in the past. And then, along with that, he knows the path, like you're saying.
Right.
He made primetime. He made more money, but
It took him a while.
and he knows the road to go. He knows the pitfalls, so he's going to kill in recruiting next year. Colorado will have a top 10 recruiting class come next year.
Let's talk some NFL. Let's talk some wagering with the Daily Wager from ESPN. Anita Marks joined us earlier. She's going to join us again so that you can hear all of her different plays for tonight's game and all the games this week in the NFL.
97.9